Great portraits don't have to be super expensive to take. We're going to share with you some budget gear that can get you amazing portraits within your budget, and also share some tips on taking portraits to take your photos to the next level.
I'm even going to show you how to get way better pictures, even if you're using your phone, just by using a $20 diffuser like this. First, we want to tell you where to do your shopping. The best place to get the most bang for your buck is KEH, the world's largest supplier of used camera gear, lenses, lights, flashes, strobes, whatever you can imagine for your photographic needs, KH has it.
Yeah, you can buy used gear, they check it out, they make sure everything is functioning, and they even have a generous return period and a warranty, so you know that you're getting quality gear. Check out everything that they have there. You can find incredible deals. Up your game, make your photos better without spending more money than you're comfortable with. Thanks, KEH. So you can check out the links down below, and we'll also save you 5% when you shop there, or if you sell your used gear, you can get a 5% bonus.
Put your big camera down for now, because I want to take a couple of pictures of you. First, I want to show you how to make your phone portraits so much better. So I have my phone in portrait mode, and I'm going to take a picture of you, Chelsea. Could you just take us a couple of steps back? That looks nice, but we have the full sun here, and that's making her face a little shiny, and it's making her eyes just really squint. So I have this diffuser, which you can get very inexpensively. Just pop it. Not that good at that. And I'm gonna hold it up, and I'm gonna use it to cast shade on her face. It's windy, so that's not as easy as it might seem. I got it hooked on my neck there.
It's already easier to keep my eyes open and in a normal expression.
We carry one with us everywhere. Even though we have thousands of dollars in gear, you'll always use this as long as you're a photographer.
The first gear I want to talk about is cameras, and I feel like the good news here is that with portraits, you don't need the top of the line camera, the most expensive camera, to get great photos. It's not as demanding on your camera as something like wildlife or sports photography. If you're truly looking to shop on a budget, I recommend buying used DSLR cameras, because you can get a professional grade camera for really inexpensive if it's 6 years old. You're gonna get good results. It just won't have the latest and the greatest technology.
The fact is, we built our entire career as photographers on those DSLRs because we started 15 years ago, and that was state of the art at the time, and we got great results that everybody loved at the time, and there's still great results.
I think another benefit to that is then also you'll be buying the lenses that were specifically made for the DSLRs, which will be older and less expensive, so you can kind of stick within shopping in a budget. What you'll be missing out on is the latest, greatest tech that you get with the mirrorless cameras. So like eye detect autofocus, which means that it's just going to detect your subject's eye, and no matter where they move in the frame, it will follow them. That means a faster workflow for you. You don't have to focus and recompose and miss a beat trying to get your subject to move. It's a workflow issue, it's a matter of ease. Another plus of the mirrorless gear is that what you see is what you get. So when you look through the viewfinder or at the screen, you're gonna see the exposure of your photo. With DSLRs, you just have to practice more and understand what your exposure is and review after and adjust.
So we definitely did shoots with our DSLRs where we shot 20 pictures, and then we looked at it and realized everything was over or underexposed. Even as a pro, you're distracted. It's easy to make those mistakes.
I think that a more important distinction to make is whether or not you're going to go full frame or a smaller sensor.
This is a full frame sensor, and this is a smaller APS-C sensor.
The larger sensor is going to get you cleaner photos in low light. It's going to get you more background blur and subject separation.
But you can get full frame DSLRs for under $500 at KEH. So if your budget is approaching that, I would push you to that.
Next, I want to talk about what I actually think is the most important piece of gear, and that's your lenses. Because you can have the best camera in the world, and if you put a lens on it that doesn't have good optical quality, you're not going to get sharp pictures. You're going to get distortion. You could get lens flaring that you don't like when you're shooting into the sun. So you really want to consider which lenses you're using. If you're a person who wants a very organic looking photo that's not technically perfect, and your style is filmy looking, grainy, lots of lens flare, you're in luck. You can buy a bunch of vintage glass that's not perfect, and it could be your style, and you will get it on a budget. That's awesome to experiment with. I like that sometimes. But most of the time when I'm taking portraits, I like the option to have optical perfection, and then I can add character in other ways. And if that's you too, then you'll want to make sure that you're buying glass that's higher quality.
When you are buying a lens, make sure you choose lenses that are built for the camera body that you choose, because they all have distinctive mounts. Like if you get a Canon DSLR, make sure you get a Canon EF lens that was designed for that. That doesn't mean you're limited to the same brand name, because companies like Tamron and Sigma made amazing third-party lenses for those mounts, and those lenses, especially used at KEH, tend to be even less expensive and give you even better bang for the buck. They're better values. So if you are shopping on a budget, definitely seek out some of those third-party lenses for the camera that you choose.
Now Tony's going to take pictures of me at different focal lengths so you can see the difference between like 24 millimeters, 70 millimeters, and how it changes my facial features.
24 millimeters is the standard lens on your smartphone, and so a lot of people feel really comfortable with that. It feels very intimate. With 35 millimeters, I see less of the background, and the shot is a little more formal, more like what you'd expect from a professional photographer. Let's go to 50. With 50, more of the background disappears and it's blurrier. Let's go all the way to 70. You look so cool with your leather jacket on that brick wall.
Yeah, I'm cool. I skipped school for this.
You look like you
old
did
lady
graffiti.
school.
That's good, but 24 to 70 is more of a modern portrait lens. For more traditional portraits, photographers use a 70 to 200, so I'm gonna go grab that. Every pro has a 70 to 200 in their bag, and they're often very expensive, but they don't have to be. Go to KEH and look for Tamron or Sigma 70 to 200 f2.8 lenses, or look for name brand 70 to 200 f4 lenses. The f4 lenses don't have quite as much background blur, but they still produce excellent images with the same versatility. Let's try out 100 millimeters. You're a bad girl.
I know. I'm gonna graffiti this all up. I might power wash it too.
So senior photo. I'll go to 135, but you can see now I'm kind of far away from her, right? Like, it's not as intimate of an experience. It's a little bit harder to communicate, and the photos are gonna reflect that. It's gonna seem more formal, more old-fashioned. But also look how that background has started to disappear, but wait until I zoom all the way into 200 millimeters. It's obliterated.
Okay, I think it's also important to mention there's what the focal length does to your subject, but it's also why you would want to blur the background. This is kind of a pretty background, but if you see it in detail, it looks kind of scruffy. So that's a good time to blur the background. Or if you have trees, but they're kind of in a parking lot and there's things in the background you don't want to see, it's nice to have that background blur. It also creates subject separation. So you can see it looks like I'm popping off of the frame a little bit, and it's a look that you like or you don't like. I like it. If you like it, you'll want a lens with a lower aperture number like f2.8, even f1.4, f1.2. Generally, the lower that number gets, the more expensive your lens gets, so just be warned.
Maybe we should take a few pictures at different apertures to show the differences.
Let's show them. Okay, we moved to a location with a more cluttered background. I had Tony dress up as a realtor so I could show you an environmental portrait and what it looks like when you're shooting with different apertures. Now, your aperture number is going to tell you how large the opening in your lens can open up. So if it's a low number like f1.2, it can open very large at its largest state and let in a lot of light and give you more background blur. If it's at something like f16, that means it's letting in less light and more of the background will be in focus. I'm going to take pictures of Tony at different apertures from f16 down to f1.2, and I'm going to show you the difference in background blur. I'm using a strobe to make sure that the light stays somewhat consistent throughout each photo, but keep in mind, if you were shooting at f16, you'd be letting in less light than f1.2, so you'd have better low light performance with an f1.2 lens. Let's show you the difference.
You want me to be a realtor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sell me my own house, Tony.
Date the rate. Houses are only going to get more expensive when rates go down. I made up a little stand-up routine.
As you can see, at f16, the cluttered background is in focus. You can see our cabinets. You can see kind of a mess behind them that's more distracting. At f1.2, everything's smooth and blurred and there's more background separation, but the background's more abstract. You might like that smooth background. You might like things a little more in focus so people can see what's going on. But either way, having the aperture as low as f1.2 gives you more creative control.
Here's the thing, a fast prime like that can be pretty expensive, but you can get inexpensive fast primes, even as fast as f0.95, if you're willing to make a couple of compromises. And those compromises are no autofocus and less than perfect image quality, but that can add a lot of emotion to your pictures. So I'm going to take some pictures of you. I have an inexpensive TT Artisan 50mm f0.95. I'm going to open it up all the way and put the camera into auto exposure with a continuous shutter. The reason I use continuous shutter is I know I'm not going to nail the manual focus every time, but when I shoot, I'm going to take multiple pictures and move in and out. You'll see. I delete everything except for the shots that are sharp in the eyes, and look at the bokeh that I get. Complete subject separation for under $200.
Now, what I think is the most important thing about portrait photography, and that's the light. But you don't need a super expensive flash to get great results. Let me show you the difference. You can see that even though the room has a lot of light, Tony's face is dark. It's kind of has rim lighting around the side of his face, and the background is brightly exposed. I can use some flash and fill in the light on his face so that he's the best lit thing as the subject of the photo. Now you can see the lighting is much better. Really, direct flash can be a bit harsh, and you can see in that picture I took of him, there's some specular highlights on his face that aren't super flattering. But there are methods to improving that, like taking the flash off of your camera. Let me try that. So now I've used a remote trigger and I've removed the flash from the top of the camera. That's when you get that spotlight look, which can be cool, but not for this particular situation. Now I could put this on a stand and put it wherever I want it, or I can hold it or have someone else hold it. You can put light modifiers on it. It becomes a much more diverse tool to use. I would recommend getting a flash with TTL. That means that it's going to read the light coming in and adjust the flash output for you so that you don't have to constantly do it manually. And then also one capable of having a remote trigger so that you can move it around and not just have it attached to your camera. So let me show you what we can do here. I'm gonna have you hold this, and I'm gonna have you put this red gel on it and hold it under your chin like spooky scary. And now he's the realtor from hell. So you can get very creative once you have your flash, once you're using gels and other light modifiers. You're not simply just relying on nature to do all the work for you. You can control the light, you can control the mood, and you can create more beautiful pictures. The last thing I'll mention as far as gear goes is the strobe. This is what you see in beauty shoots. If you have a large modifier closer to your model, that's when you're going to get very soft, beautiful light. You can see that you're filling light in a much softer way than the flash. All right, let's get into technique. But first, I want to remind you that if you want any of this gear, cameras, lenses, strobes, flashes, any accessories, you can go to KEH and get them used. They inspect all of the gear. There's a return period, so you don't have to worry about making a bad choice. There's also a warranty, so if anything breaks, they'll try to fix it and make it right. And we just love them. We sell all of our used gear to them, so you might be getting something that we used to own. And we also love to buy there because we know that we'll get great deals and great gear. Check out KEH. They have a huge selection of stuff. We put links down below, and you'll get 5% off with our coupon code when you buy, or a 5% bonus when you sell your gear to them. So thank you, KEH. We went through all of the gear and everything, and that's important, but even the sharpest photo with the best light won't look good if your subject looks uncomfortable or awkward. So I think the number one most important thing to learn with technique is how to put your subject at ease and how to get a good expression out of them.
Here's what not to do. Don't say smile and say cheese. When you ask someone to smile, you are asking them to make a fake smile. Give them a genuine reason to smile by smiling yourself, being happy.
You don't have to stick a camera in their face. That's very intimidating. The first thing that you want to do is put them at ease, make some conversation, get to know them a little bit, ask questions.
I find we always get the best pictures in the last few minutes of a shoot. If it's a half-hour shoot, the first 20 minutes are really just getting them comfortable. You're not going to get the good shot. It's the last few minutes when they actually relax and give you a natural expression because now they feel comfortable in the environment. Styling is extremely important too. People, believe it or not, do not know how to dress for a photo shoot. So you should give them pretty explicit instructions like not wearing heavily branded clothes, not wearing complex patterns. Usually simpler clothes like this are going to look much better on camera. They also don't know that they shouldn't be wrinkled and stuff. So get yourself an iron, a steamer, and maybe even have a few sport jackets and stuff you can put on people who don't show up dressed correctly.
Part of your job is going to be educating them. So on your website, you can put a style guide, what looks good, what to do, what not to do. You have to be the person educating them. So tell them to wear ironed clothes, tell them to choose a color palette, no fine stripes because you'll get moire, things like that. And then they can show up prepared. I also like to tell them to bring several outfit options because often things just don't photograph well and you can't really anticipate it. I remember once I had someone show up with like a bright orange jacket and she had very fair skin. And so in all of her pictures, she looked very orange and it was just not flattering. So we changed her into a neutral color jacket and it just looked 100 times better. So multiple outfits and give them advice beforehand.
I also think all portrait photographers should work in teams of 2 at least. You should always have an assistant. We always work together, and that's so important because first, the assistant can double check the main photographer's work. Sometimes there'll be some hair in front of the face and the assistant will spot that. They can check the settings. That reduces the chances for human error. But there's also going to be times when the photographer needs to set up lights or is busy with something and needs to be able to concentrate on that. And the assistant can entertain the subject with conversation, keeping them relaxed, reducing the tension in the room.
Let's talk about choosing locations and background, because that's another very important thing. So often I see really great portraits, but there's something weird going on in the background, or the portrait is like intensely moody and romantic, but the background is ugly and gritty. So you want to get this mood right with the background and you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So think about those things when you're taking your picture. What's the overall intention? Is it happy, like a wedding? Is it serious, like a business shoot, like Tony's realtor shoot here? And then make sure that the background matches.
And especially with a telephoto lens and bokeh, you don't need big wide expanses to do a photo shoot. You can have 10 feet of space that looks good and do the whole photo shoot there if everything else is ugly.
The last thing we'll mention in this video is posing. Don't just leave your subject hanging there. You should be able to give them some direction. If they're not professional models, they probably don't know anything about what looks good. I like to show them. So I will kind of soften the mood by showing them different poses, and then they get to see me feeling kind of silly. It feels silly to pose. You feel vain. So I'll show them like how to pull their chin out, how to tilt their head, how to look towards the light, how to look glance away. And then once they kind of see me doing this goofy process that looks good, I'll say, you try this pose, or try putting your leg out, and I will show them how to do it instead of just trying to tell them. That makes them feel more comfortable in their body once they realize what I'm doing isn't exactly natural. It's not natural to go like this, but it can look good on camera. We definitely have more where that came from, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and do not forget to check out KEH because they have an enormous inventory of used gear, from cameras to lenses to lights to whatever you can imagine.
Oh, but buying used gear is scary.
It's not. You can sell your used gear there like we do because we know we're not going to get robbed by a scammer, but you can also buy your gear there and know that it's going to be safe. Everything's going to be working. There's a warranty. You can return it within a certain period if you're not happy. You are in good hands with KEH. That's why they're our sponsor. We love them, we use them, and we want you to use them too. So use our links down below to get 5% off when you shop, or a 5% bonus when you're selling your gear to them. Thank you, KEH, and thanks to all of you for watching.